Sometimes, the most dangerous threats to freedom don't come from foreign shores. Sometimes, they're drafted, signed, and stamped top secret in the very heart of the nation. The year is 1962. The Cold War is a chess game played with nuclear pieces, and Cuba is the next square in play. But in a locked room, deep in the corridors of the Pentagon, a plan is born, one that would shock even the most hardened cynic. Washington. The air is thick with the Cold War, thick enough to choke on. Cuba sits like a loaded gun just 90 miles from Florida, and the men in the Pentagon are tired of waiting for someone to pull the trigger. In a locked conference room, the most powerful military leaders in America lean over a long oak table. The curtains are drawn, the ashtrays are full, the door is guarded, and on that table lies a plan. One so cold, so calculated, that it would turn American streets into killing grounds. A plan to murder their own and blame it on someone else. This is what you weren't told. They called it Operation Northwoods. The logic, if you can call it that, was simple. Stage acts of terror in the United States. Make it look like Castro's doing. Rage would spread through the streets like fire on dry leaves, and when the people screamed for war, the president could answer. But these weren't just headlines and speeches. They talked about real bodies, American bodies, lying in real streets. The list of ideas was chilling. Sink a boat full of Cuban refugees, blow up public buildings, plant bombs in Miami, hijack passenger planes. Every detail was written with the precision of a surgeon and the coldness of a man holding the knife. And then, they would point the finger at Havana. The proposal slid across President John F. Kennedy's desk. He read it. He didn't flinch, but something in his jaw tightened. He closed the folder, pushed it back, and in a voice that left no room for debate said, "We are not doing this." The Joint Chiefs were furious. The CIA, less than pleased. Kennedy had refused to play their game. And in Washington, refusing the wrong people doesn't just make you unpopular, it makes you a liability, or worse. Operation Northwoods didn't see daylight again until 1997, 35 years later, when the files were declassified. By then, most of the architects were dead or untouchable, and the public barely noticed. The headlines came and went like smoke in the wind, but the truth was on paper now. America's most trusted generals had calmly suggested killing their own citizens as a political tool, and they hadn't whispered it in a back alley. They'd typed it up, signed it, and handed it to the president. If this doesn't make you question the official version of history, nothing will. Operation Northwoods isn't a theory. It's not rumor. It's a reminder that even in the brightest corridors of power, shadows move. If you want more of these buried truths, I need your help. Share this episode, hit like, and subscribe, because the bigger our audience gets, the more stories we can uncover. And yes, it helps me keep paying for the tools that dig into the dark corners where buried truths are hidden. Thanks again for listening to What You Weren't Told. And remember, in espionage and in politics, the enemy isn't always across the ocean. Sometimes he's sitting right across the table.